Welcome to the Chi for Two podcast. We're a group of Chi for Two embodiment coaches that look at pop culture with a Chi for Two lens. My name is Chelsea Szegidewicz.
I'm Fred Shelton.
I'm Sackellares.
I'm Cas Pryor.
And this is the Chi for Two podcast.
Chi for Two is a mindful embodiment method.
Chi is the term we use for the life force in and around the body.
And for two calls attention to the fact that our two-person relationships affect our life force.
Today, listeners, we wanted to talk about a few shifts that we are making for our podcast and for our Chi for Two organization as a whole. And so I'd like to kick it off by giving Carly the floor.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah. So we are wanting our listeners to know that me specifically has made a decision to be involved in the podcast in a different way. And there is a lot that went into this decision and a lot of interactions between the four of us that were really beautiful, that maybe in some way we can kind of demonstrate and mirror to you all of how to handle transitions in organizations like this. So I've decided that I want to step back in terms of my camera-facing, front-facing role in the Chi for Two podcast and take a role a little bit more behind the scenes. And this is something that I think it took me a second to find my knowing no. We talk about knowing no, we talk about saying no as Chi for Two practices that are extremely important. And I think for a lot of people, and for myself included, much of my life I have said yes when really I've wanted to say no. And sometimes we say yes and immediately we're like, oh my gosh, I really didn't want to do that. And then sometimes we say yes and it takes a little bit of time to be like, oh, actually, I don't think that I wanted to do that. And I always tell my clients that it's always okay to backtrack. Like just because you make a decision in one moment, I talk about the fact, and we talk about in Chi for Two, the fact that consent is moment to moment. So if you feel differently in the next moment, that if in a situation with people where it feels safe to do so, that you can then express your no. And luckily, I have an incredible community of Chi for Two people where it did feel safe for me to do so. And the decision is something I think, just as I'm kind of figuring out who I am, I thought back to other times in my life where I might have said yes to something similar. And I gave everyone this example of I actually had a different career before becoming a Chi for Two embodiment coach. I was in marketing and I was really excited to start my marketing job as an analyst. And I was like, heck yeah, I get to be like behind a computer. I get to be building campaigns and doing coding and all this stuff. And I go into this job and it was a small startup company. And so they kind of were able to pick out this person might be good in a client-facing role. I think maybe we're going to have her start to lead all of these presentations and talk to all of these clients. And I didn't really feel like I had a choice. It was my first job. And so I was like, and then there's a part of me that was like, okay, well, they saw something in me. Maybe I can do this. So I did for 2 years and I was miserable. So much so, and this was my younger self before I even knew Chi for Two, that I was like, I'm just going to run away. I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to go to grad school and I'm going to actually come up with a whole new career. Because maybe if I find a whole new career, I'm not going to feel stuck in this role that I don't want to be in. And so what I was realizing as I was trying to come to this conclusion around the podcast is, oh, this old stuff is coming up again, which so often does in our lives. And the one thing about Chi for Two that is so beautiful is that we can do something called a symbolic redo. And so I started to realize I said yes to this more forward-facing, camera-facing role, but really I prefer to do my stuff behind the scenes. I was able to express that to everyone and felt really caught and supported. And so my new role is not going to be in the episodes like I have been, but I'm actually going to be behind the scenes, taking the footage from the episodes and creating social media clips. So I'll pause there, but that is what we wanted the listeners to know. And then kind of also have a conversation of how this shift, we are going to, and Cas and Fred and Chelsea are going to find ways to hold space for all of you in a different way without me there. Mm-hmm. In the forward facing role, I'll still be there behind the scenes.
Yeah, Carly's not leaving. Carly's just shifting roles, and that's exciting to see what comes out of that that shift. As we are, and we have all been, I think we've all done some processing behind the scenes just to maybe explain. In Chief for Two, we're really trying to be mindful about any transition, any shift, and give it the attention, not rush ahead with, okay, well, that's it, let's go forward, making sure everybody feels caught. And learning what we can from this to adjust anything else that might need adjusting as we move forward. Within the Chief for Two organization, there has also been a shift with Fred and myself moving up to be on the side of the other developers, the co-developers of Chief for Two. That is a totally other language, so I'll explain what that means. So Dee Wagner is the founder of Chief for Two, and then with Mary Lou Davidson, a longtime body worker, and Caroline Gebhardt, and Dee's son, Stephen Wagner. They were all the co-developers that helped develop all the practices and the documentation and the training program for Chief for Two. And I was in the first training group with Mary Lou and Caroline and Stephen and a couple others. And Fred was also involved in Chief for Two early on, but we had been considered, I guess, of the younger generation. That's the younger generation, yeah. And now we're finding that as we move into working on Chief for Two for business organizations and social justice, that we're and also thinking about Chief for Two as it grows, and how we manage that growth. That there needs to be more people up there. And Fred and I have the wind in our sails and the ability and the desire to be those people, and have been with Chief for Two for a long time. So we're shifting up to be on the same sort of level as the co-developers of Chief for Two. So we're still sending energy up to Dee, and she catches us as the ultimate elder, the great grandmother of everything. And Fred and I are now catching for the younger generations, all the other coaches, and helping manage the other coaches, including Carly and Chelsea. So we're trying to be really mindful of the lineage of support, that who do you turn to with your big feelings? So that everyone can feel safe to be their whole self. It can feel a lot safer when we know when this feels like too much, and my arms can't handle all this, where can it go? And send it to an elder. So within the podcast, the lineage of support is that Chelsea can throw to Carly, and Carly can throw to me and Fred. And we have not been as mindful of that in the very beginning of the podcast as we maybe could have, but that's a learning experience. And I'm really excited that this came up so that we can bring more attention to it, and as we go forward.
Yeah. And I think moving forward, having a little bit more attention to that is going to be important for us as podcasters in this particular realm. And then for us as Chief for Two coaches, I think, we'll likely have podcasts with the three of us. And then we'll maybe consider inviting a fourth, maybe an interview person or something like that. So, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to more episodes and being there for you all as our audience. But definitely wanted to make sure that you all were aware of, kind of the things that are going on with the podcast and with our organization as a whole. As the space holder or of joining the team of space holders, it is important for me and for Cas to not only make it clear, but then also, feel empowered and able to hold that space. And we are grateful for and honored. I am grateful for and honored for that transition and being able to do that and look forward to being of service. So we're excited.
Yeah. So we could maybe demonstrate what that kind of ends up looking like, I guess. I don't know if you think that might work here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in demonstrating, because Chelsea, you are the youngest generation here, and I am the next generation to catch for you. Now, it can be words, but it also could be energy. Is there any flinging goo that you would like to throw towards me?
Okay, yes, I will fling some goo at Carly, like so. I'm gonna kind of stir up my little energy ball here and get it all, put all the ick in it. If you're not watching, I'm creating a ball of energy with my hands in front of my chest. Now I'm going to throw it at Carly.
All right. So I had my catcher's mitts up and Chelsea threw that ball of energy towards me and I hopefully caught it. But the next thing that you do is there more?
Can I throw some more? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Does it feel like I caught it? What you threw?
Yeah.
Is there more?
That was good.
Okay. I'm going to take this big ball of beautiful energy that Chelsea threw. And the next thing that we do is we take this energy and we clean it out of any shame that we may feel for having big feelings and big energy. And I don't keep this energy. The next thing I do is I send it back to Chelsea as star dust, energy particles, for her to use for her next energetic expression. And Chelsea can choose where she wants to place that energy. We're not getting rid of our energy. We are just cleaning it out. Does it feel like I was able to clean that out enough for you, Chelsea?
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yeah. And I guess from there you can show, like, if you had goo to throw, where would you throw your goo?
Yeah, so then I get to choose, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And that is something that you get to do if you have multiple elders in a room, is that you get to choose who you want to throw to. And I think I want to throw it to Cas. All right.
Are you sitting? Okay, you're sitting. All right. So I'm going to make sure I'm
stand.
You want to stand? Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe demonstrate some ready stands. A lot of my clients, before they throw goo, they're like, Carly, I need to see that you're ready. Can you please show me? So
the lighting in here is so crazy. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So we're both kind of in the same stance. As an elder and a Chief for Two coach, we do kinesthetic mirroring. So if client is standing, then the coach stands. And you were explaining ready stance, Carly, so I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no. And the ready stance is really just what it sounds like. If you're like in sports, you kind of put one foot in front of the other. There's a little bit of bounce that you may have, and that helps you to stay stable so that you fall, you don't fall too far forward, too far back. And I see that Cass has her ready stance, which then helps me to feel safe, to know that she is ready to catch. She even showed me her hula hoop, so I know that I'm not throwing energy and it's going to, hit her, jab, stab her, but she's going to just catch it for me. So, yeah. Okay. This ball of energy, and I'm sending it your way. There's a little more.
Okay. Does it feel like I caught it?
Does.
Is there more? All right. And now I got to add some heat and clean out any shame or judgment you may have had for having big sensations and doing those movements as a flinging goo in like slow motion is really, you can be aware of how you're using your claws and kind of extending them at a person, which in our world is not allowed a lot of the time and can be inhibited and laced with shame and judgment. But we have our claws for a reason, and bringing them to someone who can catch and celebrate those movements is healing. So with these validating words, does it feel like I have cleaned out this energy? Yes. And I can send it back to Carly as stardust for her next movement expression.
Yeah. That was nice to watch. Thank you.
Cassie, would you be interested in taking it a step further and demonstrating for our viewers the peer practices, or one or two?
What are you thinking, Fred?
I'm thinking on my side. And so for those that are going to be watching, if I was a coach and I had two individuals in front of me that were experiencing power equality, this would be for people like siblings, romantic partners, coworkers, and the like. I would have them in front of me and I would invite them to raise the hand that is closest to the person next to them. So Cass is to my left on the screen. So I'm going to put my hand up this way, and she's going to put her hand up that way. And so as peers, what we do is we kind of just feel into the space over there. In person, obviously the two people would be there, and there's probably a little heat that the actual people can feel. Chief for Two enables us to do symbolic redos, and so as we do it over Zoom, we encourage the clients to use imagination to feel into the energy from their partner over the airwaves, right? So Cass and I, as the elders in the room, as well as the peers in the room, can experience each other. We can experience each other on each other's sides, right? And so ideally, we have our own paths that we are walking. And one other caveat, because it does come into play in the Chief for Two, we are coworkers and we are peers walking paths. However, she has her partner on the other side of her, and I have my partner on the side of me, right? And so that plays into kind of the paths that we walk. But now that we have that out of the way, peers do things called a safe share, right? And so if you are watching me, you can see me create this bubble with my left arm in front of me. For the listeners, I'm creating a bubble space around the front of my body. And a safe share is energy that I create within my bubble that I catch for myself, right? And so it's a matter of being grounded and sharing, but in a way that is partnered with, right?
Caught by you.
Caught by me, right? And so my safe share to my peer would be, it feels a little slightly heavier, now that we've delineated these things, but I'm excited to lead this alongside you and see what we can do for our audience.
Mm.
And so, ideally, if we were in front of someone, likely D, she would then say to Cass, "What was it like to hear your coworker say that?"
Well, I'm glad that Fred is excited. It's nice to hear that you're catching for yourself that it feels heavier so that I don't have to do the work of sensing whether you're okay or not. That you have a handle on what is happening. If things are not okay and they feel too big, you have someone to take them to. So I can feel safe to have my own bubble and my own experience over here. And then we can dance together.
Exactly. So hopefully everyone that's listening and watching, you can kind of feel into where we're going and the kind of relationships we're looking to exemplify. Certainly reach out to us if you have any questions or would like for us to define more terms in a subsequent episode.
I'll say that watching your elders practice their Chi for Two practices is so useful for my own body and nervous system regulation because, like you said, Cass, hearing Fred and seeing him safe share helps you to know that I don't have to worry about him. He's doing his work. He's got himself. I can focus on myself. I think it's the same for the younger generations as well. When we see our elders doing the work, some of what my baby stuff is feeling like I have to make sure my elders are okay and take care of my elders. And then I don't feel that way right now with Fred and Cass, despite you, Fred, saying that it feels heavy. I don't feel the need to, comfort you. I know that you got it, and that you have support.
Knowing the people ahead of you are also seeking help. One of the things that I espouse whenever I talk about any kind of helping profession, especially when it comes to the mental and emotional aspects of things, your professional should have a professional. And so that might lead into more of the clinical aspect of things, but just for the grounding and within Chief or Two, every coach likely has a coach. Right. And so and for the listeners, for the audience, for the viewers, when seeking assistance and when seeking kind of when you're exploring these topics, be sure to go to somebody, or I would highly suggest that you go to someone who is also receiving and can push into someone that they have for themselves. So, yeah. Dee's approach is probably as mindful as it can possibly be, and she definitely does a very deliberate job of trying to make sure that we all have an understanding of where we fall and why it makes sense. Just in terms of my own experience, Cass mentioned that I was around in the early stages. Back in like 2015 or so, my now fiance and I were involved with Dee. We knew of her and that she was creating a new methodology. And so we were kind of involved some of the early stages of the peer practices, and then some time elapsed. And then I joined the certification program. I had Dee as the main administrator, mother of the program, and then I had two trainers. One of them was Carly. She had already had her certification program and certificate. So in that mode, over those 2 years, Carly was one of people catching for me. And so when it comes to Dee's approach, there was an understanding that it really doesn't come down to necessarily age or licensing or time within Chief or Two. There's roles, and then there's also kind of readiness and comfort level too that plays into account when it comes to where you're placed within the lineage, at least, certainly within the organization. And so one of the things that we like to make sure, our listeners, our viewers, anyone that is in our space is, oftentimes the lineages are clearly defined. If we're talking to a parent and a child, then it's obvious, right? But sometimes when it's coworkers and one just arrived but then was promoted, it can be a little bit sticky. So there is a way that we try to be as mindful as possible. And so, like I said, it's not necessarily age or time doing this or what have you. It is a matter of how you're using it and what your approach is. Your bandwidth too has a lot to do with it. So I say all that to say, I'm happy to, be transitioning in a way that I can be the of most service, so to speak. And so that is exciting to be able to now catch for Carly and the rest of the coaches that, I am positioned for. So we're just looking to continue to be an example organization for the work we're trying to do. And so we are excited to bring it to the world.
Yeah.
Thanks for providing that context. I want to add that I am invited in any way, shape, or form to fling any goo towards Fred or Cas, but talking about you, Fred, specifically, because I was your trainer in training, that is invited in the Chief for Two community. If I have some cranky feelings, no, I'm pissed off that this situation is happening so that, our hierarchy is different than I want it to be, that I can fling that towards you. I think I really want to, you said two things. You said bandwidth, and then you also said the ways that we are using Chief for Two. I want to highlight that I think the ways that you and Cas have the bandwidth to want to focus your Chief for Two work is super important and exciting. Kind of bringing it to larger social systems and social justice and those sorts of things, which at this time I don't have the bandwidth to do, and am excited that there are other people who do, because Chief for Two is so meaningful to me and something that I think is so important for the world to see. So.
Yay, Carly. I think we name that Fred and I are catching for Carly, but I'm feeling that mostly what Carly is doing in this session is like a safe share, though. That Carly, you seem like you've got a handle on things and you're catching it mostly. So Fred, for listeners who might pick up on that and be confused that that Fred and I have not caught a lot of Carly's words, it seems like Carly's catching for herself today. So does that sound right to you, Carly, or are we missing something?
No, I think that you are catching it in terms of being able to say that, because I think that this is, like I said, a part of a larger symbolic redo for me to be able to, I think a lot of people can relate to this idea of masking and just kind of, especially, gender is what comes up for me. Like women sometimes feel like we have to be like really agreeable and all those things. And so for me to just be able to be open and honest and catch that for myself, because of all of the processing that I've gotten to do along the way before coming here to present it to the podcast, I think you caught it perfectly, Cas, that no, you caught that I don't need to be caught right now.
Yay! Yeah, as you talk about, like, us bringing Chief for Two to the world, to larger social systems and organizations, just to add that, yes, we have had meetings with about this to process it before bringing it to the audience. That as the audience, we are holding space for you to. We are. Hopefully, it can feel very clear that we are not flinging our goo at you and expecting to be caught, that we have a handle on what we're sharing before we're sharing it. And then you get to have your own experience with whatever the material brings up for you. And if ever it brings up something really big and you want to bring it to us, feel free to reach out. But we have had we've done a lot of work up the I guess we have in the past called it the chain of support, but I think we're trying to be mindful of the language. Fred has had more conversations with Dee, I think, about this, about chain and what that word can bring up for a lot of people. So lineage might be a word. We're still figuring it out. If you have thoughts, let us know. Lineage of support and who, so up the lineage of support, Fred and I have been able to turn and send our goo up to D about all of this and process it so that we can hold space for Carly and Carly can hold space for Chelsea. And also, since Carly won't be with us on video or an audio in the podcast in the future, then Fred and I will be catching for Chelsea. Whenever Chelsea isn't able to catch, when it feels like you want to be caught and you need to be caught, then we are here to catch for you, Chelsea.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, that seems like a beautiful way to wrap up. If you guys have any questions, email us at chief42podcast@gmail.com. I'm Chelsea Szegidewicz.
I'm Fred Shelton.
I'm Carly Sackellares.
I'm Cas Pryor.
We'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.